On this week's episode of This Must Be the Place, we have a special guest, Mr. Rob Harvilla, author, journalist, podcaster. We're going to talk about Minneapolis music scene. We're going to talk about Rob's relationship to Courtney Love. We are going to talk music in general. All right, here's our talk with Robert. Damn it, Robert. Without further ado, here's our talk with Rob Harvilla.
This must be the place. Yeah, this must be the place. Ain't no time to waste. Ain't no time to waste. So whether you in Minneapolis or St. Paul, Bloomington to Maple Grove, from the east side to the west side, down south to way up north, let me hear you say, this must be the place. Yeah, this must be the place. This must be the place. Ain't no time to waste. Said ain't no time to waste. Talk to me. This must be the place. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for making the time, and I know your time is valuable, and I know you are on a break, technically from the podcast, returning August 5th, by the way, for our listeners. But
that's correct.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, and I'm so honored to be here. I appreciate your flexibility and your patience. I know we've talked about doing this for a while.
Hey, man, it's
taken a while to
We're
set
just
up.
living in it.
That's what I
has.
figured. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. For those of you who may not know, we are talking today to Rob Harvilla, music writer, journalist, podcaster, podcast 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. I've talked about it on this podcast before. Rob, we have a segment at the end of our podcast that we call Boom Times.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, all capital letters, BMTMS, stands for books, movies, TV, music, and sports. But basically, whatever we've been consuming over the last, since we recorded last, that we have enjoyed or whatever. And we've been doing this podcast for about a year and a half, and I think there's probably been 4 boom times where I've talked about 60 songs that explain the 90s.
Yeah.
And my radical obsession and how much I love it. So this is a long time coming for me.
It's his North Star of podcasts.
Well, I'm very honored. I hope I can live up to that billing today. But
yeah, well, you've got fans in the Twin Cities, that's for sure.
That's great to hear. That's awesome to hear. I am in awe of the Twin Cities as a cultural.
Are you?
mecca.
That's great.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm in awe of you're in Columbus.
Yes, you don't have to be in awe of Columbus if you don't want to be. It's fine to not be in awe. It's a place that inspires, comfort and ease, and serenity, but not necessarily awe, culturally or otherwise. Maybe sports wise, if you want to.
Yeah, it's the college town of it all.
There's a good fried chicken place right off the interstate in Columbus. Couldn't tell you what interstate, and I couldn't tell you what fried chicken place.
Well, that's not helpful.
It was good when I was like 10, driving.
When you were okay, so this
this was a while ago. This was on a road trip with my parents in a wood-paneled station wagon.
Sure.
And it was delicious fried chicken. That's all I remember.
The fried chicken made quite an impression on you. It was. I don't mean to insult you, but it was like a KFC. Or Church's or Popeyes.
No. This was not a KFC or a Church's.
Okay, all right.
No. And it literally, I don't mean to downplay Columbus's greatness, but it was the thing that stuck out on that road trip. As how good the goddamn fried chicken was off the highway in Columbus.
Oh, damn.
I'm going to have to do some recon.
A highway. Please do. If I could get any more information, that would be really helpful.
We'll
there
send
are
it your
several
way.
highways
Does
and
80?
fried chicken places here.
What's an
Is
interstate
80
that goes through Columbus?
I don't think
It was 80.
80 is. It was 80. I
Then
don't know if 80 is.
It wasn't
major.
80. It was not I-80.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
It was.
We'll get to the bottom of it.
you think about it. You get back to me.
I will.
I also wanted to let everybody know that he's also an author. 60
Oh, my
Songs That
goodness
Explain
gracious.
the 90s is also not only a podcast, it's also a book, which I just reread this past week. And I enjoyed it as much or more than I remembered.
I found out that you are an editor, but not a very good one, apparently. Because
An editor of what?
because you write so much. This was a YouTube thing that I watched where you were talking about how you wrote 750,000 words. Was it for this particular book? You were writing a book every 7 weeks or something like that?
That's sort of what the podcast works
for your
out
copy
to.
for the pod. Yeah.
Yes.
Which I found
Yeah.
really, I mean, it's a lot of writing.
It's too much writing. It's my actual editor is appalled. You know, we worked out that my editor has to have read 1 million to 2 million words of my writing, which is way too much writing for one person to read of any other person, let alone me. Right. You know, but the podcast started in 2020 and the first script was like 2,500 words. And now podcast scripts
Child's
are
play.
That's child's play, dude. Now it's like 8,000, if I'm lucky,
Yeah.
8 to 10,000. So it does work out to a novel every 3 or 4 months, which is I am not a good editor or a good self editor, clearly.
Well, it's also pretty impressive. Just as two guys that are newer to the podcast game and have yet to learn what the term script means. It's impressive.
We know what
The
outline means.
Yeah. Outline. What did Trump say?
Oh God.
Ideas of an outline.
Yeah, let's
We have ideas of outlines for shows, but it's impressive to see the prep work and the background that you put into the storytelling that you use on your podcast.
Well, to be
thank
clear,
you.
this is an anti-Trump podcast. I don't know why
Okay.
he's bringing up that dude.
Oh yeah. No,
Nothing
Minnesota.
we
we're
need
not.
to talk.
We're not.
Yeah,
Trump country.
yeah. No, not well. Yeah, not in
How,
Minneapolis.
is Columbus?
Yes.
Outside
like
of?
demographically. Yeah. There would be one of those things where like outside
Sure.
of the big. Yes. This
Sure.
is a red state.
Sure.
Emphatically, at this point, you would have to say yes.
Yeah.
I also wanted to make a note that we have moved on from 60 Songs That Explain the 90s, the podcast, to we are now, I believe, probably smack dab in the middle of 60 Songs That Explain the 90s, the 2000s. What are we about? Are you about halfway through?
Well, that depends, right? We've done 45 episodes.
Oh, damn. Has it been that many?
It has been that many. We sort of established, despite the title of the show, we ended up doing 120 90s episodes.
I remember.
And so it is an open question if we are halfway through or what percentage of the way through we are. If I had to guess, sitting here right now, I would say that we will push past 60. Having established that the 60 is meaningless as like a number, as like a limit, I think that we have no compunction about pushing past 60. Will we get to 90? Will we get to 100? Will we get to 120 like last time? That depends. We have a giant list of songs, and we will keep going until we are tired or, everyone is tired of me. Whatever comes
your
first.
Sure.
Does your list change over time? Do you add to it, or do you just, the 60 started like you had 60 songs that you thought were changed the 90s, and then when you got to the end of the 60s, you were 60 songs, you were like, holy shit, there's a lot more songs that I could do.
It was the holy shit thing, right? Like we made giant, Google Docs of possible songs, but we did not plan it out. Like I didn't know what the 60th episode or the 45th episode was when I started the show. Like I had a decent idea of the next 5 to 10, but I try to allow, for serendipity and volatility and just randomness, right? And I have a list of songs from the 2000s that is like 120, 150 songs long, but like I'm not going to get to all of those.
Sure.
I can add new ones at any time. I'm always realizing that I forgot something, fairly important. There's a delightful arbitrary nature to all of this, where there is some preparation, but that doesn't mean that we know exactly what we're doing from moment to moment, because we don't.
I think that's what makes it great. Do you find that there are songs that you wind up putting on these episodes that you personally don't like? They change the conversation in some way, but you actually hate the song?
I don't hate much, if anything, to be honest with you. I think as a rock critic, I always admired people who could hate, in a very verbose and elegant way, like the Takedown review, of like, what do you think of? You think like Greil Marcus on Bob Dylan or whatever,
the Andrew WK Pitchfork review or whatever.
There we go. Like something like that. Like I respect the necessity as a critic of doing that, of hating things, of establishing what you hate. That's as important as establishing what you love from a critical perspective. But for this show, it being a celebration, it being me thinking about what people like about this song or this artist or whatever, and it didn't lend itself to that takedown, like, I hate this song, like, you may love this song, but you're wrong kind of approach.
Sure.
And I have found that even like the night, like, I don't approach the Macarena episode like, oh man, I'm so excited, like, to dive into but it was great. It was awesome just to go back and chart, the arc of that song, and like these two sweet dudes, middle-aged dudes in Spain, who had a nice little career, being sweet, middle-aged regional stars in Spain, suddenly have a hit pop song. And like most of that is out of their control, and they're just along for the ride, and they're in the video or whatever, and they're famous now, but they don't really understand what happened to them any more than anybody else does. Like, I can celebrate the phenomenon of a song, even if I didn't love the song in real time, and even if I wouldn't reach for that song now. Like Achy Breaky Heart is another example where I feel like a lot of the hate that a song like that generates is the ubiquity of it, the inescapability of it, right? Like there was a moment there in the early 90s where you heard Achy Breaky Heart against your will constantly, and that will make you dislike that song immensely. But now, with the fullness of time, now that it's no longer overexposed, I can appreciate what people liked about it and what's charming about it. And so I try, and I mostly succeed in keeping, dislike, let alone hatred, out of the picture. I do want this to be celebratory.
Sure.
I think also, if in another writer's hands, it could be, the podcast could perceive to be like tragically sad, because I feel like just because so much of the topics you talk about are tragic stories. Artists dying young, or there's just there could be a lot of connotations of sadness, which I guess there are, but you keep it to add hate to it and to add too much criticism to it, I think would be a lot. And I think the way that the way you do it is the right way, because a recent episode when you were talking about D'Angelo playing Sometimes It Snows in April after Prince died, and then D'Angelo dying himself, and listening to that, I was hanging on every word, but that's very sad stuff. But the way you talked about it and the positivity around the sadness, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, the D'Angelo one was very heavy for that reason. Even something like Britney Spears, right? Like, you have to balance, the fun pop supernova aspect of it, of like the horror the tragedy, the weird legal labyrinth that she navigated.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and so what I try to avoid there is sort of honoring the sadness, but not wallowing in it to the point where any one episode becomes like, I used to compare it to like a very special episode of like Family Ties or whatever. Like this is the sad one, like this is the tragedy, and like the tone of the entire episode changes to encompass the tragedy.
Tina Yothers is smoking pot.
Yeah, something like that, right? The Fresh Prince like drug episode or whatever. Like I try to honor, the sadness, the heaviness, the tragedy of it, but find some lightness too that isn't, offensively light, but just try and reach that balance where I'm honoring something without succumbing to it entirely.
Yeah, very interesting. So before, a note to all of the listeners and YouTube watchers, Rob emailed us yesterday and said, anything I should know about? And in my mind, I said, Andrew, you can go in one of two directions here. You can say, hey, man, we're just going to keep it light. I'm going to pepper you with, questions about the podcast, promote your book, promote your podcast, talk about the Twin Cities, talk about Prince, whatever else. And then I went with option B, which was send him what some people would call a Google Doc, but most people would call the semi-sensical ramblings of a madman.
It was an outline, man. It was an outline. I have seen
fragments.
I have composed the ramblings of a madman, and I can tell you that what you sent me was a coherent and logical and perfectly sane podcast outline.
Look,
very professional operation you're running.
You got to understand that outline was the most work that Andrew has put in on this podcast in a year and a half.
Okay. I'm honored.
No, maybe since the episode with
Bob Muir.
With Bob,
we had Bob.
Oh, of course, replacements. Yes,
who wrote Trouble Boys, and those are the two I've spent the most amount of time on. Yes. But I wanted to get your opinion of, not to use a colonialist reference, but I said I put you on my Mount Rushmore of quote unquote, please pay attention to the words here. This human can spin a musical yarn with Ghostface Killah, Lana Del Rey, and Destroyer.
What? Wow. That is a lot to process.
I don't know it's a lot to process.
Andrew's still working through it himself. So
no, I'm not working through it at all. I am steadfast in my belief.
Destroyer, the band, Dan.
Yeah, Dan Behar.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yes.
From Destroyer.
Holy crap,
just
that
because
is an
when
honor
I put their,
and intimidating as well.
Right? And I fully believe it with my whole heart, because when I listen to Ghostface Killah's, like Supreme Clientele or Iron Man or Fish Scale or whatever.
I love Fish Scale.
Or I put on any of those artists. They paint a picture, like lyrically, they're geniuses. And I think the same thing when I listen to 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Agreed. How do you feel about you being amazing?
I am being on some dumb asshole in Minneapolis is Mount Rushmore.
Okay, this is my first Mount Rushmore, and I want to soak in this moment. I want to take this seriously.
Drink it in.
It is daunting in the extreme to imagine my face amongst those faces in granite or whatever. If it is granite? Yikes! Yeah, I want to apologize to my 3 fellow Mount Rushmore people for bringing down the genius average. I would have to say quite a bit. Being a huge fan of all 3 of them. Wow, that's very kind of you. And that's going to be a lot for me to process.
All right, well.
Begin to try to process it here, but it's going to take me
all
a while.
All right.
I'll get back to
thank you.
I will say, I'm the yin to Andrew's yang generally.
Okay.
have never listened to your podcast.
I've listened to every second of every episode.
I respect
And
that.
I
There
thought-
you go.
I thought, I got to see what this guy is about. And I tuned in to, I just picked an episode of a song that I like.
Okay.
Thus going back in the archives for the Hard Knock Life episode. I was like, let me see what's happening.
And I said, that's an
And
early one.
37 minutes in, you finally got to Hard Knock Life.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
but-
That's the gist. of the,
But let me tell you,
yeah.
That's the gist.
the 37 minutes it took to get there,
Hell yeah, brother.
felt like 5 minutes. I mean, it was
Okay.
truly like the storytelling to get there, the relatability, the personal anecdotes, how you went from Dink to Moses,
Oh, yeah.
Dink, the band from your
Bob
area of Ohio,
Serpentini. Yeah. That's
Uh,
right. That's right.
to Moses introducing the Ten Commandments, like Funk Master Flex.
Yes.
I mean, it really was unexpected, because I was thinking he's just going to dissect this song and talk about it. And Andrew's a music nerd. And so I do have to say that your storytelling and the way you get to these things is fantastic, man. And you have a huge convert in me, and it's now on the podcast list of things that I got to go back and listen to as
Okay.
we all search for more content.
Brace yourself. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of me. There's, as I said,
Yeah.
it is
a million plus words of me. So just pace
Which
yourself.
I know you're self-deprecating, and I appreciate that in every sense, but that's fine. That's a good thing.
Okay, I'll take your
For
word
us.
on that. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start rattling off some of my list of questions, and Casey,
I'm going to sit
All right.
and listen. I'm going to sit and listen.
I
Yeah.
do want to also say Casey is
Don't do it.
what I gotta tell him.
Well,
he's a music writer.
I had a couple of the songs that changed the 2000s.
I don't know about that, but Casey was how would you describe yourself? A decently prominent
I was a
musician, rapper
cool regional rapper in a former life who
in the early 2000s.
who I was signed with the Black Eyed Peas and toured with them for
Damn.
a long time and came up with them, and then the dream didn't work out the way it does in the movies, in the record label, and
Sure.
decided that I'd rather be behind the scenes and be a present father at that point in time than be
Okay.
out on the road being like, I'm
Which
gonna
you
do
get,
this for my
obviously.
kid.
Doing my humps. Yeah. What was your rapper
Well-
name?
So my last name is Golden.
Okay.
I'm not that clever, thus why I stayed well, that's why I'm a realtor now instead of a famous rapper.
Okay.
So I just use my last name, Golden.
He has
Totally legit.
he's got a single with Fergie that is easily
That was my
streamable.
lead single. I was
Okay.
MySpace
pretty
artist
catchy.
of the
Pretty
MySpace
catchy,
artist of the week.
Hey.
And I debuted at number 25 or 26 on the iTunes hip hop charts, either just before or just after Joel Ortiz's.
Oh.
Is he a basketball player?
I don't even know what that name is.
Joel?
he's
He's a
a-
rapper. He is not a. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a rapper.
So we had the same debut week, and he was either just ahead or just before. And then from there,
Elevator music.
there you
Yeah.
go.
I'm
Yeah.
very excited.
So when I
won't listen to
originally-
this in front
when I
of you, but
originally
I will
produced-
listen to it later. Yeah.
Well, so I'm going to give you just try to take this with you because I'll set it up a little bit differently.
Yeah. Hit me.
I produced that record off an MPC with the Screamin' Jay Hawkins sample.
Sure.
That the Biggie sample,
Mhm.
right? And I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour west of Philadelphia originally.
Okay.
So it was written in very much a more organic underground style where like the rhyme patterns are much more Black Thought. And
Sure.
the beat is much more MPC hip hop, underground hip hop. What it became when the Black Eyed Peas and Prince Board reproduced it was
Glossy.
very glossy.
It sounds
Very
expensive. That's the best.
replayed.
That's how I
Let's
always
get
think
it
of it. I'm
started.
like, that single sounds
Yeah.
expensive.
And it was always
Produced
this weird
production-wise.
rub in my mind
Sure.
of like where I wanted the art to be versus what it became once the machine became semi-attached to it. So I personally find some of those things a little hard to listen to because they're not the idealized version of where I wanted things to be. They're kind of the glossified version, which I never liked as much.
No, the Black Eyed Peas are a fascinating sort of arc from what you're describing as wanting to be to what they became. Yeah, like listening to the first record versus listening to.
Well, and that's when I met them, right? Like, so I met them pre Fergie when they were like Native Tongues West, and so the alignment was great.
Right. It made sense at the time.
But then,
I always at that time before all that, I always like grouped them with like Dilated Peoples.
Yes.
Right.
But and that was
that's
who they hung with, right? Like
it was Freestyle Fellowship.
It was Crondon and the Alcoholics and
even like what was Hieroglyphics?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, they were north, but
they were.
Oh yeah, you're a Bay Area guy. That's right.
I lived there for a little while. I don't know to what extent I can claim it then or now, but I did love living there in the early 2000s. And
I do like the image of you. I like the image of you ghost riding the. Yes. It was like a Honda Civic.
It was a Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi Galant.
I was a Mitsubishi Galant. I never did ghost ride. I should have. I should have like just gone to an empty street at like 4 a.m. and just in the way that you take a teenager out to like practice parallel parking. I just should have found a parking lot somewhere and just tried.
Just ghost ride it a little bit. Yeah,
I would have. I just was. You want to be careful about how you do that and when and where you do that. And I never quite figured out the ideal way to do that. I should have. Sure. It's a regret of mine.
Can you? I'm interested in your relationship with Courtney Love. Because it seems like. It seems like she has found something in you that she likes enough to want to be open enough to talk to you. And it doesn't seem like she is like that with a whole lot of other humans. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get a sense of what happened there exactly. So what happened was, I would say yes, but in a very, I'm in sort of awe of her, and she's way over there and way up there. And I'm just a person who I talk to her on WhatsApp every once in a while, right? Like I as with the Bay Area, I'm very careful about what I would claim there. But I did a whole episode. I did doll parts fairly early on, like in the first 20 or 30 episodes. She heard it somehow. She reached out to me. We would talk a little bit, over WhatsApp or whatever.
That's how it started. Okay.
And eventually I felt compelled to warn her that I was doing the Smells Like Teen Spirit episode. And she asked if I wanted her to be on it. And I'm like, of course I do. I would never have asked you to do that in a billion years. As personal, as tragic as that is for me or for society, like it's unimaginable what that song means to you, but she did it. And like, I don't think anybody interviews Courtney Love in like the historical, definitional sense of the word interview. Like she talks, I listen.
You let her cook.
Let her cook is exactly right. Yeah. Like, so I interviewed her, quote unquote. It was like an hour and 45 minutes and she just monologues and she's brilliant. Like legitimately, it takes her a long time to get where she's going, but she knows where she's going, and she's been through so much, and she's processed so much information and just so much musical information. Like she'll make these connections that you can't even imagine, and you just got to go along for the ride. And I'm like, I'm just there to sort of respond to anything, provide support, but we are on her trip. I'm letting her cook, right? And so that's what we did with the Smells Like Teen Spirit episode. She did a BBC radio show, like it was like Courtney Love's Life in Music. It was I think it was designed at first as like a women in rock kind of thing, but she sort of expanded it to whatever she wanted to talk about. Like that was an episodic BBC podcast where I was like the guest host, but like again, I'm doing very, very little. I'm just there to support her if she needs support, which by and large she does not. And so now we're just on a thing where like she's on Instagram. Like she'll at me something every once in a while. I'll talk to her every so often on WhatsApp, but I can't imagine like the role of people who have this kind of relationship with her. So she's just collecting people, reaching out to anyone she finds interesting, and talking to them, every so often. I can go months between hearing from her, and then I'll hear from her as like we just stopped talking like an hour ago, right? Like it's one of those things, and it's clear that she has this kind of relationship with hundreds of people, and so it's an honor, and it's surreal in the extreme. It is hard to even wrap my head around any of it, even now, even as it's happening. I couldn't believe that it was happening, but it's just a very cool, very weird thing that I'm just honored by, and I like talking to her, but it's what I mean when I say that is I like listening to her talk.
Sure, for sure. And more people need to know that like the media tabloid sexism in the 90s, like Courtney Love is a genius. Like Live Through This is one of like the 100 best albums ever made, right? Like
Celebrity
she
Skin
is
too.
very, very, very smart and very talented. And she kind of got pigeonholed or put into this corner or this box of, with these associative words or whatever. And I think maybe when you talk to her, that comes through, that like she was a seminal artist, and in many ways I like Hole better than Nirvana, and I don't know if that's controversial to say, but
it's gotta be tough to get, because I never followed Hole like that, but what you heard in the 90s was like she was very much painted as the Yoko Ono, right, and which couldn't be farther from the truth in terms of her own musical acumen and career. And then add to that what happened to her husband, and then whatever was said about her beyond that, you would imagine that's got to be to live through that and not let it drive you crazy or make you just like hate the world is pretty impressive.
No, it's thick skin on a scale at a level that I can't imagine. Absolutely.
I also wrote down a question from my buddy White Bear Lake Mike reached out to me, and I said I was interviewing you because he's one of
White Bear
Lake Mike. There's
White
a city.
Bear Lake Mike.
No, White Bear Lake Mike.
White Bear Lake Mike. Got it.
There's a suburb of Minneapolis and St. Paul called White Bear Lake.
Okay.
And White Bear Lake Mike, I reached out to him and said I was going to be talking to you.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the people, like, after an episode we'll text each other and be like, holy shit, did you listen to that one or whatever? Yeah. And he wanted me to ask you essentially what the fuck happened in the 90s with the Gregorian Chant CDs.
It's a good question, White Bear Lake
right?
Mike. It really is. I am fascinated. Put that in.
Like, why did that happen?
The early 90s were a really fascinating time for like weird pop stuff. I always associate the Gregorian chant craze with Enigma. It was sadness, but it was sadness was how it was like just that weird new agey techno sounds. It's like sort of a global vibe, sort of vaguely. Like the early 90s, I think about like Tom's Diner. It was the Suzanne Vega song that gets remade as like, like,
or like the standing outside a phone booth,
like that. Yes. Like the one hit wonder, which is sort of a rude way to describe anything, but just the out of nowhere pop smash. I think about like D-Light, like Groove is in the Heart, like this very 60s coded, multi-ethnic New York City, pop band suddenly has like this huge song out of nowhere. Like something about the early 90s when Gregorian Chants, could be at the top of the Billboard album charts or whatever. Like it's hard to say what happened exactly. Like the cliche always, right, is like the 90s start with Nirvana, right? Like Smells Like Teen Spirit is where the 90s is like a cultural,
Sure.
artifact begins. And that's 91. That's late 91. That Nevermind comes out. So like 1990 and 1991 specifically, in the midst of like Vanilla Ice, and
Yikes.
MC Hammer, and like Young MC, and like Tone Loc's Wild Thing was real late 80s, but just that era of pop where it did feel like anything could happen and anything did. That's a really fascinating time that the Gregorian Chants are a part of. Like the mechanics of exactly how the Gregorian Chants got to the top of the charts. Like that's an episode I should have done and that I could still do, I guess. Like I'd love to know exactly what happened there, but broadly what was happening at that time, which was anything from anywhere. Could be a pop star, could have a hit pop song. Like that's so cool and so weird.
Yeah, as your friend and podcaster Yassi Salek would say, like the I Love Lamp of music, right? Just like anything, like who knows what's gonna stick? Just see what happens in pop music. Yeah.
And the late 90s are kind of like that. There's another like OMCs. Is it OMCs? How Bizarre. Like
Eiffel 65 and
Blue, exactly. Yeah, like Cotton Eye Joe. Yes.
Oh God, yeah.
There was another weird mid to late 90s run, like sort of post grunge, post alternative rock, Drinking in LA, the Brand Van 3000 song. Like we had another run of like randomness. And it's hard to say exactly structurally, culturally why these things happen, but there are just moments where weirdness and chaos reigns. There's always weird stuff, and there's always sort of out of nowhere pop sensations who like leave as quickly as they came. But the early 90s and the mid to late 90s, there is a very specific flavor to both of those times that's eternally fascinating to me.
Can I ask you to ascribe a place for a certain band? I couldn't tell you if you did an episode on them, and you might have, but because I was from the Southeast Pennsylvania area during the grunge movement,
sure,
as weird as it sounds, it was Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Live. And because Mental Jewelry, their first record, was like a pretty aggressive, hard record. And I don't know if it fits that genre category, but then to go from Mental Jewelry to Throwing Copper, which was this, what I think of was like the Kings of Leon did a similar jump, right?
That's a really good way to put it. They're sort of the Kings of Leon to the Strokes.
Yeah, right? Like hyper produced, huge,
like way worse
songs, possibly, But I went back and listened to it, and maybe it's just because I grew up in that area of Pennsylvania. But I was like some of these songs are still okay.
Lightning Crashes holds up. White Discussion holds up. I have to say. I think the last
is Lightning Crashes the one where
a baby
talks
cries
about the placenta falls to the
that's
floor.
That's the placenta. That's correct.
Yes.
And you remember that.
But
image.
I think your analogy of well, I guess I took it to the next level, but Live being shit compared to Nirvana and Pearl Jam, just like Kings of Leon are shit compared to the Strokes.
This is where, if you were not going to hate, this is where you
are
diverge.
the hater. And I respect the hating, and I aspire to it.
But if I had your platform, level. I would not be so judgmental. I have nothing. I have nothing to lose.
Well, okay. All right. You've got a nice little studio there. You could
it's
potentially lose that. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. You got nothing. Forget it.
I went from rapper to producer and engineer.
There we go. Okay, so you're doing fine. You'll survive. Of course, Live. Was that Allentown? Are they from Allentown? I don't know.
I'm not sure they're from Allentown. I always thought they were from like Lebanon or somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds right. Now I need to know. Live. Googling
Well,
live
because I
now
just read
is-
your peer, I guess, Tom Bryan at Stereo
Yes.
Gum. He writes.
Quit name dropping, man.
He knows Tom. I don't know. He knows him.
I know Tom Bryan. I'll name drop Tom Bryan. The number
Yeah,
one.
there you go. He the number ones, but he does the alternative ones as
Yes.
well, the alternative chart. And his most recent article was on Lakini's Juice.
Oh boy. I loved that song at the time off
Never heard of
Secret
that.
Samadhi.
It's live.
It was the
Live?
record
Yeah,
after. It's
It was
the record
after.
after.
I
Growing Up.
was like, I can't.
First single off
I
of
can't
that.
do
It was a
this
little
anymore.
tougher.
It
was a
as the
really
rest of the
noisy-
world decided.
The video is really weird. Like they're in like a sewer cave, like sex dungeon
I
type
remember
environment. That's a
somewhat.
very
You
mid
would know the
90s
first 5 seconds.
video.
Yeah. You would know that song in the first 5
I
seconds.
did dig their first 2 records,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Sure.
York.
York.
Exactly right.
They are from York.
York.
I couldn't
Thank
I
you,
couldn't
York.
tell you where York is in relation to anything in Pennsylvania.
It is
Um,
just west of Lancaster.
Oh, I know where
Oh.
Lancaster is.
I know where Lancaster is. I have family in Mather, which is a very tiny mining town.
Are they Amish?
No, they are not.
Okay.
They're just, lifelong smokers. It's a different culture. But
Yes.
Adjacent.
I can. Yep.
Your question.
Just
does
forget the
live
question,
suck
that's
is
fine.
the way I'm going to interpret that. It's live were huge at the time, and I understood at the time, even as a teenager, that live were not cool the way Nirvana were cool.
Yes.
Like we get into
Very
90s
true.
issues of authenticity and like
The candle
corporate
box
rock
of it all.
the Candlebox of it all. I understood on a subconscious level that Candlebox was less cool at the time, but it's only when I went back and like read books about grunge and how everyone in Seattle hated Candlebox just for being late, for being like the next
Sure.
wave, and thereby like
Sure.
they're carpetbaggers. They're just ripping off Soundgarden or whatever, but like they're from Seattle, they're a rock band. They sound how they sound. Like it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Like I understood at the time that Live, who were huge, and I can like sing you, 25 live songs, without even thinking about it, just because I heard them on the radio constantly. I understood that they were less prestigious, than Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, Pearl Jam, whatever. But like, it's only in the fullness of time that you come to understand that there are these tiers that
Yeah.
Live are like post grunge the same
It
way.
reminds me of your most recent episode
Like
when
Seven
you
Mary
and
Three
Yossi
are.
Salek were talking about Bush and
Bush.
is Gavin Rossdale a good songwriter? Like that question.
Empirically and emphatically, no.
Well, right.
Empirically, no.
Yes.
All right, math. We've run the numbers, and the answer is no. Okay.
The data says no.
I asked Claude this morning.
Okay.
Well,
And
I defer to
can't
our
fight it.
robot overlords. Okay.
Yes.
I know we're slowly running out of time here, rapidly running out of time. But because we are a Twin Cities podcast.
Yes.
I did want to talk about your relationship to the Twin Cities and more specifically
Lizzo.
your
I'm just throwing.
oh
sorry.
your
Lizzo.
relationship to like Twin Cities music scene over the last 45 50 years, whether it be like the Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Prince, or the replacements, Husker Du, Babes in Toyland, whatever you want to call it.
Hold steady.
Like Hold Steady. That was another question I was going to ask you, because I think the Hold Steady is the band I've seen the most times live, and I was going to ask you what is your band that you've seen the most times live. But that we can answer that after. What
Okay.
is your what?
I always get into the hip hop of it all because I was the other side of and the scene I was in.
Atmosphere.
We don't. Yeah, that
But the
Atmosphere.
Rhyme Sayers were
Rhyme Sayers. Yeah,
I think the largest independent label, at least the way that we thought of it, the largest independent label in the world at some
I
point.
mean,
like
my favorite musician of all time, MF Doom, released Operation Doomsday on
Yeah.
Rhyme Sayers.
Yeah.
So,
Bob
there you go.
Dylan, notably.
notably.
Close,
Yeah.
close enough. Close enough.
Close enough, I guess.
Is
Yeah,
that close enough? I don't even know if that's
mean,
close enough. Is it
it's-
geographically close enough? It's fine. If it isn't.
It's northern Minnesota, so
Hibbing,
you know,
it's fine. We can drive there.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
if you can drive there, then it counts.
You
Okay.
can drive there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can reel off, the same 10, 15 God tier artists that anybody, I assume, can, right? And you just listed them off, right? Like Prince, like, holy crap. Like, I don't know. Like, Prince is one of, if not my favorite musical artist of all time. The band I've seen the most times is They Might Be Giants, to answer that question. And that will probably end up being my favorite band of all
I was
time.
going to guess that.
Just for what they've meant, since I was in junior high or whatever, right? But like Prince, like that alone right there, enshrines the Twin Cities forever as the most important, musical city in the country, as far as I am concerned. Before you even add in the Replacements and Husker Du, like, I'm more of a Sugar fan myself.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if
me
the
too.
Twin Cities can claim.
They're putting out a new record.
They are. They're touring. They're playing in Cleveland this fall, I think, and I think I'm going to make the trip. No, I've been in awe of the Twin Cities as like a cultural entity, my whole life, or my whole music listening life, and that's, of course, starts with Prince. But then I loved the Hold Steady. I haven't seen them as many times as you have, but because the Hold Steady is so clearly from the Twin Cities, like the specificity of the lyrics and the way that you feel like you can picture this place and these people and these situations. Like he's such an incredible writer with an incredible sense of place. You feel like the Twin Cities, even if, like me, you've never set foot there. Like it's incredible to me, and I claim you, of course,
The way
as
he
a
says
Midwestern
Mississippi
city.
River.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's exactly right. And that's such a talent and such a rare thing. And it's beautiful that through all these artists, from the Replacements, like even them sitting on the roof, on the Let It Be album cover, like there's just such
We're
such
very
a
close
visual
to that house in this studio right now, where it's I've driven by it and stopped and taken pictures. Like, it's in my neighborhood.
Yeah, like every bit as much as people talk about the golden age of rap and like the way New York City, like you listen to Jay-Z and you can picture, the geography, the topography of Brooklyn so thoroughly, or anybody, from that era, from that genre of music, like you picture the Twin Cities so vividly through the music, of Prince, Replacements, Lizzo, sure, absolutely. Like it's such a cool thing, and I'm very jealous.
Do you find, and I'm trying to separate like the reality of how the culture at large views Minneapolis versus like the sort of lens of which I view it or viewed it from being an artist here sort of in the 90s. But it always struck me as a very DIY independent city as part of the ethos, because of Prince, because of his dispute with labels, because there is no industry here, because you can't walk to the Sony offices or the UMG offices or any of these. Do you find that holds true? Because a lot of people that you're speaking about that you guys know better than I do, they were signed to labels. They weren't independent, but yet somehow I still ascribe this independent ethos to them. Even the Replacements, right? Yeah. Like I give it to them, even though they were.
I mean, they started as on an independent label, but
is that a thing, or am I just making that up?
You are not making that up, right? Because you're Midwesterners, right? Like honorary or otherwise, and like there's a salt of the earth, like quote unquote real American vibe. Like you think about a band like Soul Asylum, right? Like they come along after the Replacements, clearly hugely influenced by the Replacements, but far, far, far more successful. Like Soul Asylum and Live are way more in the same, bucket, than anybody else. But like even clearly being on a major label and being on the radio and being on MTV all the time and dating Winona Ryder and whatever else, Soul Asylum, by virtue of being, you know, definitionally, and you can tell, you can just feel, you know, the Minneapolis, like the regional specificity of them,
Sure.
their music as well. Like there's an aura that has. There's a place where they come from, you know, and like there's plenty of people who would dismiss them as like corporate, you know, clowns in the same way you dismiss Live or Seven Mary 3 or whatever else. But there is an aura that the city has, you know, that even a major label artist, you know, like everyone's first exposure to Minneapolis, you know, as a music scene is like the Purple Rain movie, right? And it's just, and in the end, it's just a bunch of beautiful people in a tiny, dingy rock club, like witnessing, you know, the dawn of history or whatever. And the greatness of the music is inextricable from like the common humanity, you know, of the people in that room. Like you can tell it's a real place, real people in a real place, you know, and so you can confer that on anyone from Minneapolis, from the Twin Cities, no matter how, you know, major label or corporate they might be.
I think it's interesting you say it like that because, again, like we are not a politics podcast, but we certainly like touch on cultural things, and there was nothing more cultural this year than what happened here in the winter with ice and how Minneapolis, I'll say the Twin Cities, but the epicenter in Minneapolis responded to that with like that same ethos, that same energy, because it truly is like it's part of the fabric of how this place is built, and not sort of something that it just puts on when it, you know, when the cameras are on or when something major happens or something like that.
Yeah, like Bruce Springsteen can write a song, you know, about you and like bring up the city to a mythic level. But no, you see the pictures of just people from Minneapolis, like on their lawns, like the whistles or whatever, in like 10-degree weather, like trying to help out their neighbors. Like there's simultaneously a heroic, super heroic, but like a very human cast to that. And that's not something specific to Minneapolis necessarily, but like there's a duality there. There's a greatness, you know, there's the greatness of Dylan as a character and as a cultural icon or whatever, but he's just a dude from Minnesota, right? And like I feel like the city culturally, politically, whatever, like carries both aspects of that into anything.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, you've been great with your time, and I know it's valuable. So I guess I'll end with, well,
is it though?
I want you to check out the fried chicken. I want you to drive the highways.
You got to give me something. There's a lot of highways. There's a lot of exits off highways. I need a little more specificity. Also, this is like 30 years ago. What you're describing?
That's being generous. I think it's more. We're getting closer to 40.
Oh, so it's gone.
No. I'm gonna talk to my mom. She's gonna know where we drove. Shout out Angie. She's gonna tell me what probably is, Rob. It probably was churches in a rest stop somewhere.
We got those.
I'm gonna make sure
that we got travel plazas. You know, there's a Starbucks and it's a Church's. It's not a Popeyes, it's a Church's.
It might be, and it might just be because we didn't have churches in Pennsylvania.
We don't have it.
So I thought it was this literal the house that the Lord built for
Did you get like a bucket of shit? Like what are we talking, white meat or dark meat?
I was I'm going to say 8 to 10.
I was going to say.
So I think it was probably a leg and a breast.
Sure.
And it was crunchy and delicious, and nothing tasted better in that station wagon facing backwards.
I'm thrilled that you had that experience, and I'm doubtful that I can come close to replicating it now.
Well, and people of our age, I think, have all had at least the sitting facing backwards in a station wagon experience.
My wife and I talk about that, just the flagrant, safety
disregard
violation.
for children's safety.
Exactly. Children should be seen and not heard, and not even buckled into their fucking cars. Like, just put them in the back.
So I promised my daughter I would ask you a question, because my daughter's 13.
Okay.
She is fully invested in and obsessed with, among other things, the Breeders, which makes me
what a beautiful thing to hear.
Oh my God, dude. Are you kidding me? Like, it's it's sad that I feel like I've done something right as a father when
That's
that
not sad.
happens.
That's
But
just legit.
anyway, she wanted me to find out if you know Kim Deal, have interviewed Kim Deal,
And can you invite her to her birthday?
What
party?
is Kim Deal like?
What's Kim Deal's deal?
Is her voice as perfect and angelic in person as it is on record? Like what? Like talk to me about Kim Deal.
What's
because
the deal?
I mean, she's from Dayton.
She's from Dayton.
You live in Columbus. I don't know.
Like an hour from
Ohio's
here.
a big state, but they can't be that
How's
far
a bit?
apart.
Nah, it's an hour and a half. I have never spoken to Kim Deal. It saddens me to say that I've
she's
never
gonna be
interviewed.
so upset.
I apologize to your daughter profusely. Dayton, I feel, has the same sort of cast we're describing with the Twin Cities, right? Between
Guided
breeders,
by voices,
guided by voices. Exactly. Like there's that same aura, and that's the ultimate, stereotypical sort of blue collar, beer drinking,
kind of like Manchester a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yes. The more, I'm
Like-
very careful about what I say I know about England, but I know what you mean by that.
yeah,
the Oasis,
right. Like
overtone.
maybe abandoned by industry at a certain point in time.
Yeah. Yes.
And weather and dourness and
Right.
70s divorce and abuse.
Sure.
Tell us
and,
more about Dayton.
Yeah.
I think of like the Smiths, and I think of like
Mhm. Joy
what's that other
Division.
big band from Manchester I can't think of, but
Couldn't tell you.
I
don't do the British thing except for soul. A lot of it.
that's
Okay. Northern Soul.
Um,
That's legit.
anyway, but I think of Dayton, and I think of Minneapolis, and I think of Manchester. I don't know
That
why.
makes sense
I just
to me.
do.
No, I get you.
Okay, good.
Kim Deal's voice is one of the most beautiful sounds on earth to me to this day. Like I've seen them live enough times to say that like she banters the way she talks, right? Like I don't think her voice on record is some affectation that is confined to her records. I think that the greatness of Kim Deal, again, is inextricable from the everyday, going to the grocery store, Kim Deal, right? Like what makes her great is that she's that way all the time. That solo record she put out, No One Loves You More.
Last year.
That was awesome. It's so good.
So good. So good. Well, Rob, thank you so much for making time for us.
Of course.
We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I'll put a statute of limitations of 8 months before I start emailing you to ask
That's
you
fine.
to come back
That's
on,
fine. Okay, so
if that's okay.
early 2027 sounds
Early
great.
2027 is when I'll
Can-
start harassing you again, but
That's fine.
I'll be nice about it.
Can we refer to you as friend of the pod? So when
Yes,
we
you
name
can.
drop you,
I would be
Okay.
honored. Friend of the pod, friend of White Bear Lake Mike. What's the
White
White
Bear
Bear
Lake
Lake
Mike.
Mike.
White
yeah.
Bear Lake. I got it. White Bear Lake Mike. Not friend of Kim Deal. Not yet. But I'll get there. Yes, I am honored and delighted to be a friend of the pod. Please tell everyone you know.
Well, thank you so much again. And the podcast is 60 Songs That Explain the 90s, the 2000s.
Bring the book up, man.
is 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. It's been out for, God, I feel like 3 years. That can't be right.
2020
2 years?
November 2023. I can't do the math. 3 years. 3
Coming
years
up on
in
3 years?
November. Coming up on
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So go
Yikes.
buy the book, check out the book from the library, listen to the podcast.
Listen to the
and do it all.
podcast. I'm a heartfelt listen to the podcast because as someone who just discovered it, despite you telling me about it many, many times and me dismissing you, it's fucking great, man. It really is. The way you
Yeah. I've been saying
circuitously
it.
get to where you're going, man, is not everybody can do that, man. I don't
thank
take
you.
this the wrong way, but it's like a much more entertaining version of how Rachel Maddow gets to her fucking point when she does her thing at night.
Wow.
I'll take it. I do worry that I peaked with Jay-Z, with Moses doing the Ten
I
Commandments.
picked the right one
as
to
fun
listen
as-
to then,
I think,
apparently.
I think you may want to quit while you're ahead, if I'm 1,000%.
Dude, you were dropping
honest with you.
Air horns and
Funkmaster.
bombs
That's
and
right.
being like,
That
the
was-
tablets.
That's
It
right.
was,
Let's go Mount Sinai. Yeah, that was. I may have peaked as a content
was good.
creator there. So
Well, I
shout out to
respectfully
you
disagree.
for going right
But
to
we're-
the
we haven't hit the apex yet, but we're on our way. Maybe.
I'll see what I can do.
Right on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Rob.
We appreciate
Thanks so much, guys.
This must be the